Okay, now we go on to the final thing we're going to talk about. This is also on Netflix, and this is a thing that I did not know existed until around about, I would say, 12 midnight yesterday slash this morning. I didn't even know this. I had it. Oh, so I took my daughter down, and I was like, okay, cool, I need to fall asleep. And saw this thing called Captain Firehawk, a Dragon Blood remix, and this is something that I looked at and I thought, this looks like a bit of me. It's animated. There's something about it's a little bit sort of like, the style is sort of borrowed from Japanese anime, but there was something about it that just made me think, I think I might like this. So I decided to watch about 5 minutes of it. And because I was doing the whole thing of walking around and bouncing a baby up and down, trying to get them to fall asleep while I was watching this thing. And I was looking at it, I was going, oh yeah, this is definitely me. This is definitely a bit of me. So, Sharon, I know that you are never going to watch this, so it is
No,
animated.
that's true.
It is animated. I will warn you first of all. And the whole idea behind it is that it's one of these animated things. It's in a Japanese anime fashion, and it is a dystopian future. It's a dystopian future in which you have this thing called the Eden Corporation, and the Eden Corporations grew up and took over this bit of land that used to be called the United States of America. When this United States of America collapsed under the weight of its own government not really working and everything like that. And this corporation was raising up, it's taken over the whole country, has gotten rid of poverty because it gives everybody a universal basic income, which they call a UBI. So everybody has a universal basic income, but in exchange for the universal basic income, that means you'll be able to have a life, but you have to do what you are told. And everybody is, but you have this guy called Firehawk. When you first meet him, he is kind of like a cybernetic soldier. There's been something in his past of how he became a cybernetic soldier, which they never really go into. But he and his partner, a guy called Alex, are trying to break into this place to get this thing to blah, 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 blah. And there's a whole, because they want to bring down the Eden Corporation. And that's what you find in the first episode. And it goes on, you meet the different characters. Something ends up, Alex disappears. He ends up in jail. He ends up with a bomb inside his head, which is a bit of a sci-fi trope of criminal gets a bomb put inside his head and gets made to do stuff he doesn't want to do. But that all happens. But at the same time, this makes me think that this might be based on a video game somewhere in the past, because they keep having all these references to the history of video games going all the way through the film. The series. There's only 6 episodes. Each one of them is about 20-something minutes. So it took me less than 3 hours to watch the whole thing, which is why I first heard about it yesterday, and I finished the series. I finished the first season now. And I think the voice acting is great. I think the art is great. I think the storyline is also quite good as well. The different characters and how they bring them in, and also the bits where they bring in all these different bits of video gaming. Like there's swathes of this show that are animated in the style of a video game from the past 30 years. So there is one bit that looks like 8 bits. It looks like you're playing a video game in the 80s. There's bits where it looks like it's updated. There's a bit where it looks like it's like a text-based thing. There's a bit where there's one episode that looks like an entire cut. The entire episode is filmed like a cut scene from there was a games console called the Panasonic 3DO that sunk without a trace. Many people didn't really know about it, but watching this episode put me in mind of a Panasonic 3DO, and I was just kind of going, wow, for somebody who grew up with video games like me, because I grew up when video games were becoming the big business that they are now and the big self-cultural touchstone that they are now. I was like, this show, essentially I finished watching this show and I had to text some of my friends who I grew up with in Nigeria and I told them Captain Firehawk on Netflix, it's like somebody made a TV show for our 13-year-old selves. So for anybody who likes video games or anything like that, I would recommend watching this. I think when it comes to the dystopian thing, there's a lot of tropes in it, but there's some bits where you think like, it's actually making fun of the tropes. Like there's, you guys might know, I'm not sure whether I'm talking to the right people. I think Sean might be more onto this than this, but when you talk about the giant robot subgenre of Japanese animation or the giant robot thing, like, there's Voltron, there's Voltus 5 and all that sort of stuff, where these 5 people come together and they make one big robot and it fights crime, whatever. There is a really, really, really funny subversion of that in this show. There's actual video game characters. There's Rayman, because Rayman, I only ever knew him as a video game character. Rayman is a character in this. And it's just kind of like, what is this show? it's kind of all over the place in the best way possible. For anybody who's into video games, I would recommend it. I don't want to give away any spoilers because there's some twists and everything in it, but it's good. The action is good. The storyline is good. And the way it ends, because I mean, you guys have heard me complain about cliffhangers and how I hate cliffhangers, but I feel like this ends in a very organic, cliffhangery. Like, no, it's not even really a cliffhanger. It's kind of like ooh, that's intriguing. Come back and see what happens next. And I'm all for it. It might have to do with the fact that there's only 6 episodes. They're only 20 something minutes long, and I don't feel like it's outstayed its welcome. I don't feel like it's wasted my time. It hasn't taken me 25 episodes to get to a place where they go, ooh, come back and see what happens. We're not going to end our story. I'm like, no, get lost. But no, this 6 episodes ends up in a really good cliffhanger that I actually quite like, and I think it ends in a place that is quite intriguing. And in some ways, it's a vision of a future where a corporation takes over America is very believable. And there's some things that happen in it that you think, yeah, that is believably horrific. And I feel like there is some DNA that it shares with something like, let's say, Ready Player One. But I would say Captain Firehawk, didn't really know about it before yesterday, watched it, loved it. I would recommend watching it if you can handle animation. But yeah, that's it. I would give it a 4 out of 5. So yeah, that's it. 4 out of 5 for Captain Firehawk, a Blood Dragon remix. Especially that title, a Blood Dragon remix, makes me think that there was a video game called The Blood Dragon or something like that. This is like a remix of it. I don't know. I need to go do some research. I need to go do some research. It
feels like it needs research.
It needs research to figure out what video game is this referencing and stuff. All right, so that is it. That's everything from us. And so, guys, who do you think won this week? Netflix or cinema?